Hi, welcome to Tabletops and Bottoms, the show where we talk about all things nerdy, gay, and I got it. I got the orders mixed up. Hi, welcome to Tabletops and Bottoms, the show where we talk about all things TTRPG, nerdy, and or gay. And today we're talking about managing a game.
Yeah, nailed that. So when we're talking about managing a game, we're talking about things like scheduling, like how often do you play, how long is each session, and then what do you do to sort of like end your session, like how do you end it, and then also what do you do if somebody leaves your table? How do you schedule your games and like what the frequency, like how often should you play?
I know we both do weekly. Yours, the one that I'm in Thursdays, and then the one that I'm doing Mondays, but we haven't played in like 2 months. But I got married and then it was holidays, so.
Yeah. Everything just kind of like went back to back there.
Yeah.
But I think that's fine, which also falls into our scheduling of like, we do weeklies and that works for us. But I know there's some people who do weeklies, but they're also like, they do weeklies, but it's also 4 hours a week. We do 2 hour sessions.
Yeah. I don't mind. I've been trying to do 2 hours, but we also feed you, so you're there for a long time.
Yeah. I think that's actually fine, but I also think it's just because like
we're all friends.
Yeah.
And we like to talk.
Yeah. I was gonna say, I feel like if you're like super comfortable with each other, then it's fine if it goes on longer than that. Actual gameplay though is like generally around 2 hours. I think as a GM, I think it's more manageable to do 2 hour sessions. So you're not trying to cram everything all into one. And then also, like, I think it allows you to have longer campaigns. And I think that just also comes with the nature of, like, just doing 2 hour sessions as opposed to 4.
Yeah.
But I also think attention spans. I think it really depends on, like, the type of group you have. If people can be tuned in for, like, 4 or more hours.
Yeah.
Because I've been part of games that do fall into the 4 or more hours, and I'm not going to lie, around hour 2, I'm starting to think about, like, when is this session going to be over? Not because, like, the session is boring, but because I'm, like, I'm tapped out, like, I don't want to say socially because it's socially different, but, like, game socially, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
There's only so much that I personally can handle in terms of like actual gameplay.
Yeah. I get that. I feel the same way.
Yeah. I think, I mean, fair, I think disclosure for all y'all out there, like our group entirely consists of neurodivergent people who have ADHD, ADD, like we all are. Our brains don't focus for much longer than I think about 2 hours.
Yeah.
So I think, one, find what works for your group. If longer sessions are what you like, absolutely go for it. We are definitely a group that likes on the shorter end. I think 1 hour is too short. 2 hours, I think, is the right amount.
Yeah, but also whatever works for you and your table schedule. Like if you could only do monthly sessions and maybe you want to do an entire day, but like schedule breaks, schedule lunch, and either have everyone pitch in or I don't know, order pizza or something.
Yeah, that's right. I kind of actually forgot about that. When we were pre-COVID, wow.
Yeah.
We were doing like monthly sessions where it was once a month, and then we did the whole day actually, I think. It wasn't like 8 hours, but it was a good like 6, I think.
It was like 6 hours.
Yeah.
And then one time I ate an entire bag of hot Cheetos and then I thought I was dying.
I've done that, but not hot Cheetos. It was Takis. Yeah.
Yeah. Which I don't object to that, but it is like you need a break. And then that was when we were doing just normal D&D and then combat.
Oh, yeah.
I was falling asleep a little bit. Not because... Okay, combat's kind of boring for me. but
I will agree with that. I feel like we have already established that combat is like not our thing.
yeah.
Kudos to you if it is your thing. It's not our thing. Which is also why I think our sessions do not last 4 hours, because the 4 hour plus sessions that I've been in, combat does actually take like a good hour something.
That's a long
depending on one, how many people are at the table.
Yeah.
Also, two, how much experience somebody has had at combat. Because I was at a table, bless his soul, he was a great role player, but in combat he wanted to do just about everything. So he would really sit there and strategize what he wanted to do, and he would also take like the longest at the table.
Yeah. I would get anxiety about that when I would be like looking like, what the do I do? And then it would get to me and I'd be like, I still don't know what to do.
It's
hard.
Yeah. I'm not gonna lie, this is why I liked playing barbarians and I liked playing bards, because bards were the first class that I ever played. So I knew how to play a bard really well, which is why I liked playing them, because I already knew like my go-to spells, what I wanted to do, how to be most efficient in combat. And barbarians, super easy. All I have to do is remember like what I need to roll to hit, and that's it.
Yeah. Yeah, and if you're playing with like a newer people, it's gonna take a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, just keep that in mind when you're scheduling.
I think also open communication in terms of scheduling, what works for everybody. Don't be afraid to say, I can't commit to a weekly game. Because then you find something that works for you, because then you're going to end up being like, I don't want to say the problem player, but then you're going to end up being everybody else's problem if you're the one who says, I can commit and then can't actually commit. Find something that works for everybody.
Yeah. And then if you as a GM or as a player need to take a week off, don't be afraid to let everyone know.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm 100% okay on board with that. Take breaks.
Some weeks are harder than others. What to do when someone leaves the table?
Yeah. I don't have experience with this with somebody leaving my table. I have experience leaving somebody else's table twice.
Okay.
Once I excused myself, and that was because this sort of touches upon what we talked about in our last episode, which was not player expectations, but we talked about expectations during a session 0. And I didn't realize that, I guess, the DM at that table did have very specific expectations for our player types. I was in a Vampire the Masquerade game, and I guess I was playing it wrong. I was playing a follower of Set. I don't actually remember if that's what the actual clan was called. So I'm sorry. It's been a really long time since I've actually picked up a Vampire the Masquerade game. But I guess I played it wrong, and I didn't get publicly called out, but the GM did message me on the side and was like, this is not how your character is played. And I felt really bad about it, and I felt really weird about it. So I did end up leaving that game mostly out of, like, not gonna lie, pretty much sheer embarrassment, but then I was like, okay, I guess I played it wrong. So I left.
Damn.
Yeah. It was a little weird for me. So I think in terms of like players leaving, I think it was fine that I left, in the sense of like, even though I didn't say anything, I didn't want to cause drama if I had said something, because I feel like I would have. 2, it was also like play by post where there was like about 30 people there. So for me to disappear, I think no one would have noticed. Right. Yeah. And then the other sort of group that I did end up leaving, personal differences, so that one was a little bit harder, I think, to leave. But at the end of the day, it just became like sort of a falling out type of situation. So not necessarily that it was like I approached somebody and said, hey, I have to leave the table. So in my cases, like, they are not good examples of like what to do if somebody leaves the table. I think if somebody does need to leave the table, then I think if we are all adults about it, then it should be like an okay, how do you wanna wrap up either your last session or how would you like your character to go?
Mm-hmm.
I think in ideal circumstance, I'm not saying this is what happens all the time.
Uh-huh.
I'm just saying like in an ideal circumstance, if somebody needed to leave or something was going to happen, I think that player should get agency over what happens to their character and where their stories end up.
What if like someone just ghosts?
Oh, I
Like if it was like a table run every week and then all of a sudden they just stop showing up. They don't message you.
Oh, interesting. I see. I'm not sure actually what I would do.
I was like, would you keep that character there out of respect? Like turn them
Ooh.
into an NPC? Or would you just like kill
Ooh.
them?
What would you do?
I would NPC them.
Okay. I was laugh not that I would
You're gonna kill them.
I wouldn't kill them. I think it depends on like who the player is and like what relationship that I think they had. Like I feel like if it was like a tumultuous relationship and they ghosted because of like some like shady or shitty thing, I would have been like, bye. Your character just gets like fucking left somewhere to die or whatever, you know. Maybe that's not very like nice of me as a DM, but I'm like, I think it depends on the relationship like you had with the person or like maybe how their character fits into the world. I don't
Yeah,
know.
I would go more for like the world aspect. Like, does it make
That's
sense
fair.
to leave them there? Or are we taking them out back?
I'm a little bit petty. That's why I think I would have gone down the kill route.
No, I wouldn't.
That's fair. I think though, for like the Vampire the Masquerade, we played one session.
I still
of
miss my
that.
character.
I do want to actually finish that game because I did have the entire campaign built out. But if we do that, we're also going to be missing like 3 players.
Kill him.
I'm
just kidding.
I think it's okay because one character did not want to be there to begin with.
Yeah.
So I would have been like, you get to do whatever you want. Like, goodbye. You got invited to like one party with the Barons and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
For the other 2, I feel like I would have given them their own like little mission and they would have turned into NPCs.
Mm-hmm. I mean, they can still be NPCs.
That's true. They still can. When it comes to actually running the session itself, at what point do you find that it's a good point to end the session? And has there ever been a point in time where you ended it before you wanted the actual session to end or after? If that even makes sense as a question.
I've only run 3 games, but I have not ended on a cliffhanger yet. I mean, I think I technically did, but that was the end of it for me. I was meant to leave you on a cliffhanger. I didn't, end it before or after that.
I think that's fine because like a lot of times like I will leave you guys on cliffhangers.
Yeah.
Because one, I think that's way more fun.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And also I feel like it keeps excitement for like the next episode or session that's coming up.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I personally also love it. Like, I guess when you do it, but I feel like in the 3 games that we played with you so far, like they ended like on like they felt like satisfying conclusions to the session that we played, but also like every time you end a session, I'm like, damn, I want to keep playing. I want to keep going.
Meanwhile, I'm like, I don't know where you're going. I will commit to actually writing. What's gonna happen next? Oops.
Out of my own curiosity, do you have like an overarching campaign written, or is it just like
I have pieces of where I want your characters to go. I don't know how I'm gonna connect them together.
okay?
Yeah, and then with Elsa's character, I don't fucking know.
So like you already have plans for like each of our individual characters, or do you mean just like the world in general?
For each of your individual characters.
I'm excited.
Yeah. But now I'm like, should I write it so it like ends in like 10 weeks? Should I just let it play out? I don't know. So that's what I'm trying to figure out.
I will say, like in my experience, I don't generally have an idea of how many sessions
Mm-hmm.
it will last. I just know there's a point A, there's a point B,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
or I guess the end of the arc,
Mm-hmm.
and then I will just let y'all get there however many sessions it takes.
Makes
I
sense.
know for we're in arc 3 right now.
Mm-hmm.
I know arc 3 is taking a bit longer because y'all are doing side quests, but arc 2 was super short actually.
It was.
It was 8 sessions, but 4 sessions each group.
Yeah.
So I feel like it was super short, but you also did get where you needed to get. And also, a lot of Arc 2 was establishing the world that you live in.
Uh-huh.
And also, like, establishing that you're paying the consequences of another group.
Okay.
Which are technically still your.
Okay.
Technically, it's still your characters. But it's sort of like establishing, like, you are the NPCs of this world.
Yeah.
Like, you are not the heroes.
Yeah.
Not necessarily managing a session, but managing a campaign in terms of like arcs and where characters go. I tried to break it down to 3 different arcs. So campaign 1, we had sort of like your introduction arc, which introduced like all of the sort of like who the establishing the problem that you guys needed to solve,
Mm-hmm.
and you ending up leaving on your journey towards that.
Mm-hmm.
Arc 2 generally is like establishing that where do we go from here type of deal.
Mm-hmm.
And then usually arc 3 covers sort of like you have everything you need to address the problem. Now you're going to go do the thing to address the problem.
Mm-hmm.
And then arc 4, if there is an arc 4, goes into either like, okay, so for campaign 1 there was only 3 arcs.
Mm-hmm.
Campaign 2 there's going to be 4.
Mm-hmm.
Because first one is always the same thing, establishing the problem, and then you guys leaving to go fix that problem.
Mm-hmm.
Arc 2 establishes the world that you guys live in. What do you need to do to fix that problem? Arc 3, for this one, hits all of your like emotional, like character growth points.
Mm-hmm.
And arc 4 is you'll have everything you need now to go address the problem and fix it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I see.
Generally, that's how I break them down. And for me, it doesn't matter how many sessions there are in each arc, as long as you get from point A to point B and you hit all the little points on the inside of like, 1, did your character develop enough? And when I say develop enough, I don't mean did your character level up.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, did your character like hit an emotional point where they discovered something about who they were, or like discovering like relationships like with each other and the world around them. Okay. That's what I mean, like in terms of like hitting points.
Okay. Good to know. I don't know if I'm doing that yet.
That's fair. And I feel like they'll learn along.
Like, you guys liberated a tavern. I forget entirely what happened in the second session.
I wrote copious notes.
Okay, and then the third one is getting to the meat of it a little bit more, because I actually thought of things.
Oh, another thing I want to touch upon in terms of managing a campaign, managing a mini campaign.
Mm-hmm.
Larger campaigns I feel like are easier because there are arcs that you can go through.
Mm-hmm.
But in a mini campaign, there is only one arc. You get from point A to point B and you hit all the little points in between. And I'm really fond of doing mini campaigns that last maybe around like 10 sessions. 8 to 10 sessions I think is good for a mini campaign. For me, first couple sessions are always getting to know the world, getting to know the problem, getting to know your characters.
Mm-hmm.
Then all the little points in between are like how do you get to the end and where you solve that problem or something happens. I find the easiest way is Call of Cthulhu for me is really good for like a mini campaign.
Mm-hmm.
There's one that I didn't finish and they were actually 2 episodes away from finishing it.
Damn.
Cutting this part. But then the election happened and
R.I.P.
That game will no longer continue. Yeah, so I think in terms of managing mini campaigns, I feel like that's easier to write out where you want each of your little stories to go because they're bite-sized, I will say.
Yeah.
I'd say mini campaigns don't do like 4-hour sessions each unless you're doing that like a monthly thing. Because then it becomes, I think, harder to maintain.
Yeah.
So I'd say mini campaigns, keep them shorter. In all aspects of it, keep them shorter. Yeah.
Things to think about.
So that's where we are going to end today's episode. If you want to hear more from us, leave us a comment, subscribe, do all the button pushing. You can always find us right here on YouTube and on Spotify. And if you'd like to support us in a more personal manner, please consider donating to our Ko-fi.
Bye.